In the chaos of Japan's Sengoku period, many men fought for land. Many fought for power. But one warlord claimed he fought for something higher. His followers saw him as the living servant of Bishamonten, the god of war. His enemies feared his discipline, his speed, and his terrifying sense of justice. He was not the man who unified Japan. He was not the man who became shogun. But on the battlefield, few names carried more legend. Uesugi Kenshin, the Dragon of Echigo. Oda Nobunaga wanted to break the old world. Toyotomi Hideyoshi wanted to rise above it. Tokugawa Ieyasu wanted to survive long enough to rule it. But Uesugi Kenshin was different. He did not build a new Japan. He did not leave behind a dynasty that ruled for centuries. And yet, among the warriors of his age, his name became something almost supernatural. A monk warrior, a commander, a man remembered as the god of war. Before he was Uesugi Kenshin, he was Nagao Kagetora. He was born in Echigo province, a cold and mountainous land facing the Sea of Japan. This was not the soft center of political power. It was a hard frontier of snow, fortresses, rival clans, and restless retainers. As a child, Kagetora was sent to a temple near Kasugayama Castle, where he studied Zen Buddhism, military strategy, and classical learning. But the peace of the temple could not last. Echigo was divided, and the young Kagetora was pulled back into a world of ambition, betrayal, and war. By the age of 19, Kagetora had become the central force in Ichigo. He entered Kasugayama Castle not as a reckless boy chasing glory, but as a commander who understood order. In the Sengoku period, power did not come from blood alone. It had to be enforced, it had to be recognized, it had to be feared. Kagetora brought discipline to a fractured province, and from the mountains of Echigo, a new power began to rise. Kenshin's world was not only political, it was spiritual. He became deeply associated with Bishamonten, the Buddhist guardian of warriors. To his followers, Kenshin was not simply a lord giving orders from horseback. He was a man protected by divine force, a commander who prayed before battle, a warrior who wrapped himself in discipline, faith, and fear. Whether we see this as belief, propaganda, or legend, one thing is clear. Kenshin understood the power of faith. His army did not march only behind a man. They marched behind an idea. Uesugi Kenshin is often remembered as a warrior of justice, a man who fought not only for conquest, but for order. But the Sengoku period did not allow simple heroes. Kenshin invaded, he punished, he burned, he killed. Like every great warlord of his age, his authority was built with steel. That is what makes him fascinating. His legend was built on justice, his power was built on war. And between those two truths, the Dragon of Echigo became impossible to forget. But every legend needs an equal. To the south, in Kai province, another genius was rising, Takeda Shingen, the Tiger of Kai. Shingen wanted control over Shinano, the mountainous crossroads between his homeland and the north. Kenshin could not allow that. If Shingen dominated Shinano, the balance of power would change. Roads, castles, river crossings, mountain passes, everything would be at stake. And so, again and again, these two commanders were drawn toward the same place. Kawanakajima, a plain of rivers and fog. A battlefield where the dragon and the tiger would become eternal rivals. At Kawanakajima, fog covered the river plain. Soldiers moved in silence, banners disappeared into smoke. And according to legend, Kenshin himself rode directly into Shingen's command post. Sword against war fan, dragon against tiger, history, myth, and memory merged into one unforgettable image. But that battle deserves its own story. For now, remember this: Kenshin was not famous because he faced weak enemies. He became legend because he stood against the strongest. Kenshin was not trapped forever in his rivalry with Shingen. As the years passed, Japan changed. Oda Nobunaga's power expanded across central Japan. Old alliances collapsed, new threats appeared. And in the north, Kenshin began to move again. His armies advanced through Hokuriku toward Echu, Noto, and Kaga. This was no longer just a struggle between two mountain warlords. Now Kenshin was stepping into the wider contest for Japan's future. In 1577, Kenshin moved into the northern theater and confronted forces aligned with Oda Nobunaga. The clash came near the Tedori River. Rain, darkness, confusion, and water turned the battlefield into a trap. The Oda-aligned army was forced back. Men struggled through mud. Banners collapsed in the storm. The river became a line of panic and defeat. For a brief moment, the impossible seemed possible. The Dragon of Echigo was moving west. And if Kenshin continued, even Nobunaga's road to domination might be threatened. Then, at the height of his power, Kenshin died. He was 48, no final march on Kyoto, no decisive war against Nobunaga, no last confrontation with Shingen, no moment where history could reveal what he might have become. The Dragon of Echigo vanished before his final campaign could begin. And after his death, the Uesugi house was pulled into a struggle for succession. The army that had terrified Japan now faced its greatest enemy. Not Nobunaga, not Shingen, but division from within. Uesugi Kenshin never unified Japan. He never became shogun. He left no peaceful dynasty behind him. But his legend survived, the monk warrior, the commander of Echigo, the man his followers called the god of war. And across the mountains of Shinano, his greatest rival was waiting, Takeda Shingen, the tiger of Kai. Next time we enter the fog of Kawanakajima, where the dragon and the tiger meet.